Hey, everybody, welcome to the Tom Rowland Podcast, brought to you by Starbright. We're brought to you by Starbright today. As always, Starbright is the maker of an awesome line of products to take care of your boat. That's where I use it most, whether it's the salt off product or any of the boat cleaning products. Starbright has you covered. Definitely check them out. They're not only a great company for the products that they have, but they also do a tremendous amount in conservation, and that is certainly important to us all. Today, we're going to be talking about physical things. We have Dustin from Mountain Tough. And if you don't know what Mountain Tough is, Mountain Tough was, when I first found out about Mountain Tough, it was a gym, kind of like a CrossFit gym or another functional training gym in Bozeman, Montana. I used to go there with my son when I would go visit him at college at Montana State University. We would go to the 5 a.m. class. And it was really great. It's very similar to the training that I do at home, and very similar to a lot of the other training that I've done when I'm visiting gyms. But it has kind of an angle towards the mountain athlete, an athlete that wants to go into the backcountry specifically for hunting, primarily elk hunting, sheep hunting. These are activities that are incredibly difficult when you combine the altitude and the terrain and what you're having to do carrying a heavy pack either in or out of the mountains. Then you add the weather and that you are going after a wild animal that does not want you to go after them. It's a very, very difficult pursuit, and your physical condition is probably the most important thing. Mountain Tough specializes in that, and Dustin is the man in charge, and he started this out just training a couple of people behind his house. He goes through the story of how he built Mountain Tough and what exactly it is. Anybody could get it now. You don't have to go to Bozeman, Montana and go to the gym. In fact, they've closed that gym down so that they can specialize in online training. So we talk about that. We talk about RFK coming in and potentially changing the health of America. That's a new development that Robert F. Kennedy is going to be health czar or whatever we're going to call him. But we talk about what things could possibly happen, what things someone with that type of power and an understanding of physical culture and an understanding of physical health as he has, what could somebody like that change to make a big change in the health, the overall health of the general population of the United States in a year or two? Dustin had some really interesting things to say about that. So stick around for the entire conversation with Dustin from Mountain Tough, and here we go.
This is Dustin Diefenderfer, CEO of Mountain Tough, and this is the Tom Rowland Podcast.
All right. Dustin, how are you, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm real good. I'm glad to have you on. I don't know if you know this or not, but my son who helped us set this up, he went to Montana State in Bozeman, graduated there. And then my second son went to Montana State, also graduated there. And I have been to your gym a number of times.
Yeah, we were talking about that this morning.
Yeah.
It was a few years ago. You were in the old building and
the old building.
Working out. We got to get you to this new one.
Oh, I'd love it. I loved your setup in the old one. I don't know what the new one's like, but you've kind of changed your program, I think. Is it open to the public anymore?
It is not. No. So I ran Mountain Tough class for over 6 years. We had morning sessions, noon sessions, evening sessions, and we had a really amazing community of Bozeman mountain athletes training with us every day. And we always had the digital stuff going. We had the digital programs up and running since 2017. And it was two unique businesses. One was our online presence. One was our local training. Our local training was feeding the creation of everything we were putting online because we've had the ethos of test athletes since day one. So every program has to be tested. before it can go into the app or into any of our programming. So now, fast forwarding into 2024, we are actually filming content almost sun up to sundown, and there's test athletes in here all day long. And so the amount of locals in the lab is still high, but instead of a class, they're either testing or filming or creating some sort of program that's going to go in the app.
That's cool. How many programs do you have now?
So the app's been crazy. It's gone global. So we have customers all across the world now, from Australia, New Zealand, Europe, anyone that is training for functional fitness for the backcountry, military athletes to hunters, even non-hunters that just want to be in, excellent functional shape. But programming wise, we probably have like 17 to 19, maybe more offerings. So everything from beginner, intermediate, elite, heavy pack, weight vest, on ramp, body weight. The amount of programming in the app now is pretty robust, because over the years we found that, some people train at home, some people train on the road, some people go to a gym, some people have their home gym, and then a lot of individuals never have the same setup throughout a given month. And so the options have always been built on what our customers are looking for. The biggest thing, though, for sure, is we added a product to the app to replicate that class experience, because the Mountain Tough classes that we used to do locally were so kind of revolutionary for our industry. No one was really training that style. And there's a lot of components that go into training with a great local community. You have the camaraderie, the fellowship, the accountability, and every day is new and different and fresh. And so a couple of years ago, we launched the Minimal Gear Daily, and it's a brand new Minimal Gear Mountain Tough workout every single day, and it expires every single night. And you hit play on that, and it's fully coached. So it's like being in the Mountain Tough lab in your living room. You have a Mountain Tough coach, and then you have 2 Mountain Tough athletes that you're competing and benchmarking off of. And I say that because we have those 17 to 19 programs, but our daily suite has hands down become the most popular viral thing that we've ever done. The Minimal Gear Daily turned into several products. So we're big believers on training holistically, so physically, mentally, spiritually, nutritionally. And now there's those in that daily format. So we have daily prayer now. We have daily mobility. We have daily full gear and daily minimal gear. So a lot of people are still doing programs, but most people have transitioned to that daily training.
Yeah, that's cool. Was it difficult, or was it an easy decision to go from having the gym open to the public to moving away from that? Was that an easy decision? I mean, it was probably a hard decision because you got to say goodbye to some of the community there, but it may have been like on paper. Does it just do you look at it and go, man, we just got to go this direction? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, it was interesting. It was brutal from the community standpoint. The community was really close and tight knit. And also me as the founder, the community and the local training is what got the company off the ground. So the local training was always kind of my baby, because Mountain Tough started with me training just a few guys in the park behind my house. And then those park sessions grew, and we went into a leased gym, and then those grew, and then we went into our own gym, and those grew. So the local community aspect was always kind of like my baby. It fired me up. It filled my cup. But business wise, we knew that there was a whole nother side of changing lives, and to change lives and reach our goals, we knew that this needed to be a very well done global product that anyone could access across the country or the world. And we knew that to accomplish that mission, we had to shift our focus, and our focus needed to be, how can we change 100,000 lives versus just changing the 60 people that are coming into this gym every day. And so it was not easy. It was a very difficult year. It was the right decision. When I started Mountain Tough, I had a previous entrepreneurship journey. And through that previous entrepreneurship journey, I knew I wanted to create something that was scalable. And it's very difficult to scale local training past a certain point. And it was tough, but I'm glad we went that direction.
Yeah. How did you, were you always an athlete and a trainer, or how did you get into training people behind your house?
It all started from kind of my upbringing. I grew up in Montana, and my dad came from a large family. There was 9 of them. 7 of them were boys, and they grew up in the mountains outside of Sheridan, Wyoming. So they were in the Bighorn Mountains, and that family did a tremendous amount of backpacking, horsebacking, fly fishing, high mountain lakes in the Cloud Peak wilderness, a lot of time elk hunting. And so I grew up just with this outdoor lifestyle with a lot of uncles. And, every second of our lives, we were doing some sort of backcountry trip. And then I kind of turned into a gym rat in college. But my gym rat experience was kind of unique because of that upbringing. Everything I was trying to do was train specifically for archery elk hunting. And at that time of my life, archery elk hunting was my passion, and I was so passionate about it. So every time I went in the gym, I was trying to make sure I was training to be better that upcoming September. And in 2016, there wasn't a lot of people telling you what to do step by step if you wanted to be a better mountain athlete. There was a few PDFs on some heavy pack workouts. There was a few PDFs on.
What year was that you're saying there wasn't much?
That was 2016.
Okay, 2016.
And so I was doing all this elk hunting. I was training a lot in the gym to be a better elk hunter. And my wife and I were doing a lot of marathon running and ultra marathon running. And kind of this light bulb moment went off that it was a unique business opportunity to train outdoorsmen, because it was a blue ocean when we started. No one was doing it. And it was a passion of mine to kind of push people further than they've ever been pushed. And we went for it very bootstrapped. And so I drew a napkin logo. I picked the ibex because I Googled what's the toughest animal in the world. And it showed me this ibex that was scaling this cliff and running from snow leopards. So I sent the napkin idea to a buddy, and he turned it into a logo. And then I printed a flyer, and the flyer said, "I'm looking to train backcountry hunters." And I hung that flyer at the bow shop, and 3 guys called, and those are the first 3 guys I started training in the park.
They still around?
They're still around. Yeah.
Nice.
That's cool. Pretty cool.
I have a group myself that I train with or train them, but the group aspect is huge. And I mean, whether it's partner workouts or something, but there's that accountability and there's that community, and that is a really big part of it. But I like how you have the 4 pillars, and I believe that to be true also. Like, there's mental training, there's physical training. I'm interested in the nutritional training, what you're calling nutritional training. What is that? Just describe that as you would to a prospective customer.
Yeah, we keep ours pretty simple from that nutritional pillar, and there's a lot of content in our app around that now. We have a nutrition coach on staff at Mountain Tough. His name's Kyle Camp, and he decided several years ago that his specialty would be nutrition for the mountain athlete, specifically backcountry hunters. And so we all follow his recommendations, and his recommendations are so incredibly simple. It's whole foods and high protein, medium carb, and it's avoiding as much processed food as we possibly can. And so he keeps it really simple for the Mountain Tough community, and that's worked really well for me personally as well. So we look for the most natural foods we can that aren't previously processed, and then we're all kind of managing our intake based on our goals. And so he has a good formula around, if you are trying to lose weight, you got to just make sure that that intake is less than that output. So your calorie burn plus your workouts for the day. If you're trying to shed some pounds, you got to manage that number. And then there are, a lot of individuals also trying to add some muscle, add some weight. And so just like reversing that scenario so that your intake is more than that output, so you can put on that extra muscle or those extra pounds.
So the people that are coming to you are probably already pretty physically fit and already know something about nutrition. But how are you surprised when you talk to fit people about nutrition? Are you surprised that they know more than you think they do, or less than they should know about nutrition? Like, where do you think the kind of average athlete looking to get better, do they know a lot about nutrition or know very little about nutrition?
I think that nowadays what we see is people are fairly well informed. The kind of prevalence of content over the last couple of years, just on higher protein and managing macros. 9 years ago, no one really knew what macros were. It was way less common to talk that language with people, but most people we're running into now have a pretty decent base understanding of what's good and what's bad, and kind of how they should balance out their day. I think there are always people looking for a little bit more performance, to reach their goals. And so kind of fine tuning that depending on what they're looking to achieve is more common now than kind of starting with those basics like we saw a few years ago.
I saw one video on your Instagram when I was doing some research, and started out, it was basically about the current state of health in the United States. What do you think the current state of health is right now for general people, not people that are trying to go elk hunting, but just the general population?
It's really bad. We've been trying to talk as much as we can about that. We have used some language this year that's titled "America, We Need to Talk," because it is an epidemic of bad health. So statistically, it is causing many issues that are pretty mind blowing. So even right now, we were just working with some military units, and 70% of youth are coming in ineligible for military service because of health issues, and those health issues allow them not to actively enlist in the military. And so those are numbers unheard of in American history. And even what we saw working with those individuals was what has happened is some of those 30% that are still getting in and going to boot camp, they're actually having bone injuries because their bones aren't strong enough to handle the demands of boot camp like they used to be in America. And so that's pretty shocking to me. It shows that you have a kid that beat that 70% rule. So he's actively not obese. He doesn't have any medical conditions that are giving him prescriptions, keeping him out of the military. But still, after he goes in, the boot camp is causing damage to his bones because his
Just
bones
doesn't have the foundation.
Yeah. And so they joke around at those units. They'll say, like, these kids need to drink milk and play outside again. And that is a lot of what is going on, is that they weren't playing in the park. They weren't running around with their buddies. They weren't jumping BMX bikes all day after school. And so even though they might be lean and they might pass the baseline requirements to enlist, their bone structure isn't strong enough. And so, that's just one symptom of a lot of different issues. We talked in some of that content that you saw that it's like 11% of adult American men that can do one strict pull-up. And you think about an emergency in your hometown, a car wreck in front of you on the way home from work tonight, an intruder coming into your home, or any sort of hurricane, avalanche type condition. There's so many times in life where we're going to have to pull our own body weight up,
right,
or we're going to have to pull our friends and family up.
In my world, it's being on a boat. People fall in all the time, and most people are not able to pull themselves back into a boat.
Mm-hmm.
And they're out there
crazy.
fishing all the time.
Yeah.
And they're not wearing a life jacket. Like, if you couldn't pull yourself back into the boat, you should be wearing a life jacket, like, for sure. But I mean, some of these boats, have weird. I mean, even for an athlete, they have weird angles, and they're slippery, and people take really good care of them. There's wax all over them. It could be tricky to get back in some of these boats, but if you can't physically do one pull up, it's going to be really hard to get back in the boat, especially when you're fully clothed, so soaking wet.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people never even practice that one time. They've never jumped in with their clothes on to see if they could get out.
Yeah, it's so true.
It's scary.
And it's it's so interconnected to that holistic conversation we were having. We talk about the analogy that's helpful is if you have a bar stool, and that bar stool has 4 legs, and one of those legs is physical, and one is mental, and one is spiritual, and one is nutritional. You can't just be really strong in one of those legs with the other 3 being weak, without that bar stool falling over. And that is a lot of what is going on. Is the comfort crisis has made Americans seek comfort at all costs. And that comfort has led to a lot of affluence, and the affluence can kill us just like anything else. And so being stuck in these comfortable cars, in these comfortable homes, in these comfortable jobs, at a desk a lot of the day, without sharpening that physical stool, or that physical leg of that bar stool, eventually there'll be a point in our life where that stool will fall over. And sometimes we don't know when that day is going to come. I mean, we talked to an individual last week that he had went out on a rescue because one of his school chaperones had fell and hit his head on a rock during a school event. And the kids ended up carrying the EMT gear up the mountain because the EMTs were not in good enough shape to make it to the patient.
What?
And so these things can, they can strike anytime. We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring.
Well, we have one big development just lately is, the election's over. There's going to be a change, and Robert F. Kennedy coming in, and we don't know exactly what he's going to be responsible for, but he has somewhat been tasked with improving the health of the United States. I got ideas on what I think that he could do as someone that could make broad sweeping changes. And we can talk about what my ideas too are, but I'd like to know what you think. Like, if you were put in that position, what do you think the 3 or 4 most important things that anyone could do to change the overall health within 2 years of the United States?
Two things came to mind when you asked that question. The first one was the stuff in our food really bothers me.
Me too.
And you see that a lot when you travel internationally. So if you go anywhere internationally, people are eating foods that we would sometimes define as unhealthy, but they're extremely healthy individuals. And so you'll see this almost anywhere other than America, where they'll be eating kind of like fatty pork or fatty beef, high carbs. Sometimes, like if it's in the European countries, it's very high carbs, wine and cigarettes, but they're an extremely fit population compared to what you'll see like at a lot of American airports, especially like in the South. The obesity epidemic is obvious. And so something is in our food, even our healthy food, that is causing us to be extremely unhealthy. And that one drives me crazy because, like in the Mountain Tough community, we have a community of people that throughout the day in their life, they're making decisions to eat healthier and eat clean. So they're looking for high protein. They're looking for organic ingredients. They're looking to eat as clean as possible, but the clean eating is not enough because there's something in that clean food that is causing negative ramifications. And you see that with there's a testosterone drop in American men at an all-time record level. And that's even across guys that are working out all the time. And so that one is like the silent killer, because if you're working out, you're training, you're eating healthy, there could be something in what we're eating that's still going to bring you down. And I really have high hopes that RFK can help there.
I do too. And that was that's on my list. That's number one too. Take out the poison from the food system. And what's hard about the poison in the food system is that it's really hard to put a finger, point a finger at what exactly that is. Like you're saying, like even in clean food, even in stuff that is coming from like athletic type food companies that are trying to fuel athletes, there's still a lot of things that are allowed in the food that are not allowed in European countries. In just like, I don't know if you've seen like lately Casey Means and Callie Means and the Food Babe did this thing where they went to Kellogg's and they were saying, and Jesse Itzler has been doing the same thing for years, is like, why do we have 200 ingredients in this box of Fruit Loops? And then the European box of Fruit Loops has 20 ingredients in it. If it's not allowed over, I mean, that just seems like the simplest thing that he could do right away is just say, look, if it's not allowed over there, it's not allowed here. You already have the recipes and the machinery and everything to create these same foods. You're marketing the same foods to the European countries. They're not allowing all of these other ingredients, so we're not going to either. That seems like a sweeping change. I don't know if that would fix the problem exactly, but man, you could take a lot of stuff out, bad stuff that we know is bad. That one, just straight up, like if it's not allowed there, it's not allowed here. I don't know why that we would allow that for our population. We should have the healthiest food. We're making it here.
Yeah, I think it's a big problem. It's going to take some time to fix it because I think it is connected to capitalism and profitability also. So like if I can put something in your chips that makes you want to eat that whole bag of chips rather than just a handful and then you're full. If I can put chemicals in there that makes you not feel full so that you finish the whole bag and want more, and then you're going to buy more and my company is going to be more profitable. So we have to fight that battle. And then
definitely going on. And for somebody that has high willpower, you really don't have a chance. They have hundreds of food scientists working on that. to break you down. Like all you got to do is open the bag and have one. I mean, that was even like the tagline. You can't eat just one. Like it's like,
yeah.
Well, so I just don't do, like if I'm going to open something up and eat it, I'm probably going to eat the whole thing. I know that right away. So I don't even dabble with it. So it's like, just no, not at all. I don't want it. Well, I do want it, but I'm not going to eat it. I'm not even going to have one. And some people are like, you got such incredible willpower. I'm like, no, willpower would be eating 4 or 5 and stopping. That would be amazing willpower because it's programmed for you not to do that. Like there are chemicals in there that mess with your brain or your gut or your blood sugar or something that you now you got to eat it all. And it's an amazing amount of calories. Like
it's proven addictive chemicals in there.
But some of those chemicals are going into like bars that we think are healthy. Like, and I don't know, and maybe even the companies that are using them don't realize that they're not healthy. But why is that ingredient not allowed in other countries? It's a weird thing. Then the other thing, like, what about like there's obviously some issues with pharma as I see it. Like, I don't even know where he's going to begin there, but I did read something yesterday that he said one of the first things that he would do is to return our organizations that are there to protect the health of the American people, that they are captured by pharma, and to return those to being a protector of our health, right? As opposed to we'll just let this one slide through, and that seems to be happening. Yeah. That seems another place where someone could come in with authority and change that.
Yeah, I mean, that one is a massive uphill battle that I think he'll make an impact there. But it's that mentality that anytime you go into the doctor's office, anytime you're not feeling great, just a general acceptance that you should be handed a bunch of pharmaceuticals to fix those problems, where I think we all know that the fix for 90% of these problems is a good physical routine and is good nutrition. And so if we were training, we were moving every day, if we were doing some cardio and doing some weight training and watching our nutrition, then we certainly wouldn't need pharmaceutical after pharmaceutical after pharmaceutical. And that has just gotten more and more prevalent, and it's more prevalent with our youth too. So it used to be the older Americans that were getting kind of sold drug after drug, pill after pill, but that age keeps coming down. And then you think about, the fentanyl problem is interesting too, because the fentanyl pouring across the southern border is very interesting, as fentanyl is a medical drug that you would also use for surgery. And part of our American drug addiction is also coming from this pharmaceutical addiction.
Yeah. That's that one seems to be a much tougher battle. Not that the additives in food aren't directly tied to profits, but certainly the drugs are directly tied to profits. That one seems to be like, okay, you can maybe change some things, but I don't know that it's going to be a sweeping change right away. Now, one sweeping change right away. I'm 56. How old are you?
I'm 42.
Okay. So at 42, you probably had PE in school, right? They don't have PE in school anymore.
That was my second point I wanted to make for sure, is when you asked that question, I thought of the food right away. And then I thought of the second thing I would do is bring back hardcore PE at school.
You ever see those videos of that school in California that they used to? These guys are like going across the monkey bars and they're doing pull-ups and they're doing like a obstacle course and dips and there'll be like 50 guys out there and they're all doing B-ups and push-ups and it's amazing. And they all look so healthy and fit and strong. And that's the way it used to be. I mean, when I was a kid, we had the Presidential Fitness Council. Did you have that?
We had the presidential fitness test once a year.
That's what I mean. Presidential fitness test. And you would go and you would like run. I remember we had to run like a 600. That was one of the events. Pull-ups was another one. I think there might be push-ups, but you got like a certificate. Like if you pass, you're like 97% or 98%, and then you got the best certificate. They would bring you up. You would have like a thing at the auditorium, and they're like, "Oh, these people got this, and these people got this," and it was really amazing. But it wasn't just that you had that test.
Mm-hmm.
All year long, you're having a class in the middle of school where there is physical activity and some physical education about movement and, the proper way to do a push-up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see that anymore. It's so weird. And for me, like the one place that you should be able to blow off some steam and get some exercise is when you're a 10-year-old at school.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to tell that kid to sit there all day long and expect that, like, especially a boy, like a 10 or 12-year-old boy, you're just supposed to sit in a chair all day long and pay attention and don't move. Like, that's the one place that you need it more than anything else. Like an hour to just go redline your heart rate and then come back and sit down and you probably learn something.
Oh,
and that seems like a sweeping thing.
Yeah, and then you can't hold. Yeah, you can't hold still. So then you're diagnosed with ADHD and then you're given a pharmaceutical.
Right. And it seems like, I mean, to you and I, like thinking about that, doesn't that seem like real common sense that the reason that the ADHD has gone through the roof is lack of activity? And you're trying to tell them to sit in a chair all day long and not act up. And if as soon as you do, you're diagnosed with something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not that smart, but it does seem like if you get some, I mean, all you got to do is have a dog. If you got a dog, a puppy, a 1.5-year-old Labrador retriever, keep that thing in your house and don't give it any exercise and see what happens. It will chew everything to pieces.
You got to run them. Yeah.
If you run them though, they're perfect. Kids are really similar.
Yeah. We watched that video a couple months ago that you were talking about, and it was from JFK's big campaign.
Right. It was from him.
Those kids in that video look like Army Rangers.
I know they do.
Every single one of them, and not a single one of them has any signs at all of obesity. I mean, they all are super fit, super jacked, super lean. And it's not just happy. It's not one or two of them. It's like the whole entire class. So I couldn't agree more. I mean, we have to make some changes in the youth. We have to make some changes on, how they train, how they exercise, how they get outside. At our house, we made the decision. We're going into our 5th year of homeschool. And so I have 2 young daughters. They're 12 and 10. But I was just talking to my wife about it the other day. Our youngest for sure would be diagnosed with ADHD if she was in a public school system. So they do homeschool from about 9 until 11. And then my wife kicks them outside. They jump on the trampoline. They run around the block. And then every day at 3, they go to gymnastics and train from 3 to 6. So they're getting about 3 to 4 hours of physical activity each day. But even with that activity, my 10-year-old daughter, she cannot sit still for more than 3 seconds. And so because of homeschool, she actually she's learning as she's bouncing around the basement. But in a normal classroom setting, there would be a high likelihood she would be diagnosed and be offered some sort of treatment.
But you don't see that.
No.
And so when do you think that, with your experience of training people, and you've got the gym right there, when do you think it's appropriate to bring a kid into training?
I think you expose them as early and as often as you can. I think even if you're training at home, you're training in the basement, having them around, having them watch you. I think there's been a lot to that with our family where, the girls don't always want to work out. They don't always want to work out with us. I don't think that like pushing super hard on the really young ones is the right answer. But what I have noticed is by them being around mom and dad working out hard all the time, it's become normal. It's not weird to them. They know that like a hard workout is going to happen every single day. They're going to watch their mom do it, whether they're participating in it or not. And I think that set them up on a really pretty good fitness journey because it's not something that they had to add to their life when they were 28 that was abnormal, or they had no gym experience. That it breaks the walls of intimidation. And so exposure at a young age, I think, is really important. And then what we've done that has worked well when we want them to work out with us at a young age is you will get, with my experience with children, you will get some pushback because they'll say, Dad, just because you work out every day doesn't mean I need to work out every day. And switching the conversation has helped us. I'll say something to the effect of, like, look, this is kind of the family business. This is the family beliefs and ethos. We train hard and we want to be always ready for anything. You don't have to train with me 5 days a week, but you do need to do it twice a week. And that kind of switches that mindset of like, oh, okay, like this is part of our family that I'm required to do this. I'm not forcing it on them like every single time because they still are kids at the same time. And that's worked pretty well for our house.
You know what else works good is telling them, like, especially, I have 2 boys and then I have a younger girl. And my daughter came to the workout every single morning, and it's 5:00 in the morning. And so she would get up. I wouldn't have to wake her up. She would get up and she would come downstairs and she would, run around through the workout. People are dropping weights and doing snatches and stuff. And she's all through there and she's climbing ropes and doing all kinds of stuff. But she just loved to be part of it. Now the boys, I told the boys, I want you to be here. I want you to watch and you can be around anytime. And this is your place too. But you're going to have to get a little bigger, a little stronger before you can get into the workout. Like before you do a workout like all we do, where we set the clock and we go and we're going to do this workout, that's for big kids. And you're going to need to kind of be able to do these things before. And then they were like, man, that's what I want to do. I want to do that because you told them not to, right? Yeah. Like that is
challenged them.
Yeah. And that reverse, that's what you really want them to do. But they, you just tell them that they can't. And then of course that's the only thing they want to do.
Yeah. Reverse psychology.
Yeah. It works better on boys than it does on girls. Girls are too smart. They're like, oh, you don't want me to do it? Okay, cool. I'm upstairs. I'll see you later. Yeah. But boys are like, oh, I got to get in there now. Now you've done it. I'm going to do it. Yeah. I'm going to get in there.
That challenge.
Yeah. So, where do you have any other ideas on what RFK or any other person that had the authority could do?
And changing the health of the nation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think nothing off the top of my head right now. I think that we've been talking a lot about the food one. I mean, I remember last year we went to Mexico and we were on an odd ad hunt with some really good friends that are Mexican, and they had us over for lunch at their house, and the oranges on the table were really weird shaped. They were not perfectly round. They were smaller than our oranges at home. and they had some like bumps on them, and the skin of the orange wasn't bright orange. And I remember opening that orange and being like, holy smokes, this is like the best tasting orange I've ever had in my life. And they're like, yeah, they're way better than American oranges. And I was like, this is crazy, because it's like the ugliest orange I've ever seen, but it's the best tasting orange I've ever had. And these guys had been to America a lot of times, and they're like, yeah, we don't even buy fruits or vegetables when we go to America because they taste terrible to them. They taste awful. But yet our oranges at home are like softball size, perfectly round, bright orange skin on the outside, but no flavor at all on the inside. So like our American passion and like innovation has gone a little too far. I don't think it was always bad intentions, but there was some bad intentions when we talk about like the addictive chemicals and chips. But some of the farming practices were all around efficiency. Like, how can we get more efficient? How can we have less waste? How can we have big, beautiful products? But the stuff that allowed that to happen is killing us. So that is going to take a little while to reverse it. It's a massive, uphill battle that I think RFK is fighting. And it's a hard battle for us to fight personally, because to really eat clean nowadays at home, not everyone can have like a homestead at their house. Not everyone can have a beautiful garden that they're managing themselves with their own chickens
and all your wild game that you're killing.
Yeah, all the wild game, you still have an uphill battle. So I'm really excited that he's pursuing this Make America Healthy Again. I mean, I saw him announce that, and I was like, this is amazing, because he's talking about like the fluoride in our water, and he's going after everything, which we really need, kind of that widespread attack.
Right. The fluoride in the water is interesting because, I mean, I don't know. There's just one dose for everybody. So you could be 300 pounds or you could be 8 pounds, and you're getting the same amount of fluoride, which I think might be the problem. I don't know. I mean, I've fished with dentists that swear up and down it's good. It's a fine thing to have in the water. It saves everybody's teeth, these are friends of mine. They're dentists. I think they have their community's best interest at heart, or at least they have been led to believe that that's the case. They wouldn't be doing it if it was hurting people. They're not trying to hurt people. I do know that about these particular individuals, but they were like, man, it's good. Like, fluoride in the water is good, but I think fluoride in the water might be good if you're getting the appropriate dose. How do you know if you're an 8-pound baby or you're a 400-pound man? It seems like the dose would be different, right? Like that seems like the problem. Maybe not the actual fluoride is the problem. It's the amount that you're getting either as a kid or I have no idea. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, fluoride is a poison. There's no doubt about that. But how much what's an appropriate level? And what's in a level that when you drink it, it is very advantageous for your dental health, but too much is not good. Like, I don't know. But you turn the tap on, everybody's getting the same amount. That doesn't seem... You don't disperse any other drug that way, any other thing that way, except sugar. Yeah, and you do with sugar.
Sugar, yeah. And I think same with sugar. I think RFK is citing that the fluoride is good for your teeth, but it's leading to this Alzheimer's epidemic. So it probably is helpful to everyone's tooth structure, but the overdose over time could potentially be leading to a lot of this cognitive function decline that we're seeing.
You know, one of the other things I had on my list, and we kind of talked about it, is like mom and dad, like leading by example and educating your kids that or at least being around it. Like if you can't expect to, well, I don't know, maybe the easiest thing is to just put PE into public schools, and then most of the kids are getting exposed to that. But I don't know. I mean, you could probably give any amount of incentive to a lot of adults and they're still not going to exercise. They're just, I mean, you can see every fitness fad that has ever happened seems to be an avoidance of actual work. Like you got some kind of band you're jumping on, or like, you know what I'm talking about? It's like there's been so many things that it's like, it's just, you're going to a class and you're doing some kind of thing, and you're getting some exercise, but for the most part, it's basically an avoidance of actually working out. It's like anything but that. So I don't know that you're going to really incentivize a lot of people that don't exercise, but at least it's going to be something that is in the forefront. I wonder if it's going to be rejected by people of differing opinions politically, that now being fit, and you already saw it happen a little bit, where being fit or going to the gym or being healthy or being concerned about your health is more of a right wing kind of thing, which is, it couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, everybody needs exercise, and everybody of every persuasion exercises and benefits from exercise.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like what we're going into, I'm very optimistic like you are, that this is going to be something that can be a real change. I mean, a noticeable, concrete change. But I just wonder, like, does it become like a political tool for one side over the other to avoid it, or call you a bunch of quacks, or I don't know.
I know, you just don't know yet. I think it would be nice to see it pulled one level higher than, I think, fitness, and pulled into that level of that this stuff matters for your family. This stuff matters for your community. And like a stronger family is going to have a stronger community, and a stronger community is going to have a stronger town, city, state, country. Because I think for a lot of people, the why has to be big enough for it to have a lifestyle change that lasts multiple decades in their fitness journey. And so what we've seen over the Mountain Tough trajectory is that someone who has the why of, I drew a Colorado elk tag and I'm intimidated by the elevation and I'm really out of shape, but now I have this tag, so I need to get in shape. If that's their why, we see them sign up for Mountain Tough. They'll train really hard. They'll go on that Colorado elk hunt, and then they will get right back out of shape again, because the why was the hunt. And you see that a lot of times with different fitness journeys that people will go on. And so it's always been really interesting to me, what's the difference between the person that has been training for 30 years versus the person who's kind of always on that training roller coaster.
What do you think it is?
What I think it is identity and legacy type thoughts. So the people that train for multiple decades and pass on that fitness lifestyle down to multiple generations, they're usually not thinking about training for that elk hunt. They're having thoughts that are more similar to, I want to be a good example for my kids. I want to be able to play with my kids, hike with my kids, compete with my kids. I want to be able to compete with my kids when they're 28 and I'm 58. I want to be able to fish when I'm a grandpa. I want to be able to be there for my community. It's usually that identity type stuff that correlates with people that are in the fitness lifestyle for multiple decades.
Yeah. That's That is interesting. And then I think you also have to enjoy the process in some way, shape, or form. Like whether that's through the community that you're around, or you like you ultimately you have to like, it can't be a drudgery.
Mhm.
Like, oh, gotta work out again. I mean, if that's the way you feel about it, maybe you make it to the elk hunt, but you're probably not going to go further. But if it's like, oh, I'm getting a little bit better at this, I'm trying some new things. I'm with my friends. I'm
Mhm.
having some sort of fun doing this. Like, I train, and then I don't know, my wife wants me to play pickleball, and
Yeah.
we have fun. Like, now I can do it. I can go further and longer than anybody else out there. Like, I don't know. There has to be something else, that like some sort of enjoyment. That's what people ask. Like they're trying to, change their fitness, and they'll ask you, because like you, I've been doing this for multiple decades. Like, how do you do it? Like, how do I do it? Right. It's like, first thing I tell them is, you got to find something that you think is kind of fun. Right.
Yeah.
So if you like tennis, just play tennis. That's a good start. Like, you're getting out, you're moving. That's a good start. It's like, you don't have to, if you're so afraid of like the gym, and it's just not at all fun to you, there's a lot of ways to exercise, man. You can take a walk, you can take a run, you can ruck, you can swim, you can play golf, you can play tennis. There's like, anything is better than nothing. And then get a group around you of some sort, and then like move. Like, just move. What's enjoyable? Is riding a bike enjoyable? Then do that.
Yeah.
And then that
works really
leads
well
to something else.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's that little win of like, man, I exercised 3 times this week. Next week, I'm going to maybe try 4. And maybe I'll do not all bike. Maybe I'll try that class at the gym. Like, I don't know. It just seems like a win leads to other wins. And you start to like make some sort of a consistency out of it.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen that work extremely well. I think that those big goals and those big ideas start to show up in their lives after they get some of those first initial wins. So someone who hates the gym and has struggled ever having any consistency in the gym, you see that story over and over again where they'll go to jujitsu. Jujitsu's fun, and all their buddies are there.
Right.
And then they'll shed 20 pounds because they're training hard there. And then because they lost 20 pounds, now they're kind of interested in that 10K or that Spartan event down the road. And those kind of bigger visions start showing up after that initial fun surge.
Right.
But I think you're spot on. I mean, there are a lot of different ways to have a physical active lifestyle. And I think that just making sure that it fits your personality and seeing if you want community or no community, there's a lot of different options.
So when it comes to like on the other side of the coin, you got somebody that draws some exceptional tag, and they're the guy that you just described. That tag is going to lead them into the mountains. They are currently not in the shape to get it done. They're either going to go with an outfitter or they're going to try to DIY it. Either way, they probably got a lot of money invested in this thing. There's a lot of time invested in it. And if they've done this, they want their best opportunity to succeed. Where do you start with somebody like that, especially that it's going to go to a high altitude area? And maybe, and in a lot of the, this could be a Florida hunter that drew somewhere else. It could be somebody that is absolutely not accustomed to the altitude and has no idea how to train for it. Where do you start with somebody like that, and how long do you suggest that they train for it? Obviously, as much time as they possibly have, but where do you start, and how do you kind of help them navigate to getting in the kind of shape that it takes to be successful?
Yeah, so we always tell them that you can never start too early. So you're going to want to start training right away. For some people, that trip of a lifetime is a year out, but many times it's much shorter than that. And so if they drew a tag and they know they're going into one of these high elevation expedition type experiences, they should start training now. And now is going to be different for every person depending on that deadline. But the bare minimum we really want to see them do is 16 weeks of specific training for that trip. And so we designed the Mountain Tough preseason prep program around that exact scenario. If someone draws that Colorado tag, that Alaska tag, they're going to rugged terrain, high elevation, multiple days, a heavy pack on their back. We want them training on a preseason prep program for 16 weeks. But that's 4 months. If this trip's not for 8 months, you still should be training now. Every day that you can train before that trip is going to make a huge difference. And so our original Mountain Tough preseason program was 12 weeks. And then the science was pretty clear that like a lot of these cardiovascular adaptations are going to take 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 weeks. Some muscle maturity takes time. And so now it's a 16-week program. And then over the years, we've gotten better at ramping someone up for that program. So in the old days, we used to just throw them right into preseason prep, which was a pretty intermediate and elite level program. And now it is very specific. We start with an on-ramp, and then the on-ramp takes them to a foundation program. Foundation then is going to take them into preseason prep. So it's taking them step by step so that there's no injuries, everything's safe. They're not going to get into any overtraining issues. So now we go from on-ramp to foundation to preseason prep to the hunt. And that has worked really, really well for us. I think in addition to that, they should start thinking about how can I spend some time in the outdoors before this trip? Because what I've seen a lot historically is someone in that scenario that you mentioned that drew this very expensive, oftentimes trip. They're going to make sure that they're buying like the best high-end gear. So they're going to have a lot of money invested in like their rifle, their optic, their clothing system, their backpack, their optic system. And they're thinking about that and working on that type of stuff all the time, but they're forgetting many times about their physical fitness, which is what is going to actually lead to them being successful on this trip. So they need to think about their body and their mind as the most important piece of gear that is going on this trip. But that usually doesn't happen. They're usually going to think that like this $8,000 rifle is the most important piece of gear. They need to kind of flip that perspective and think that them and their mind, and I say their mind because what we see a lot of all the time is a lot of individuals will go through all the physical training, but they've never put themselves in any sort of adversity under like a shooting scenario. So they've never been stressed out. They've always shot just perfectly balanced at the range, but they've never shot under a lot of pressure, under time, elevated heart rate. So the mental and physical training is what's going to lead to a very successful trip. And by success at Mountain Tough, we define that as someone thriving in the backcountry. Like the backcountry is always going to be hard, and the backcountry is going to throw a lot of unforeseen elements at you with the weather, but thriving is possible. And so thriving is, not being stuck in your tent, not being so sore that you can't hunt on day 2, not being so sore that you come home early. And a lot of hunters are coming home early on trips of a lifetime. And, when you get in the Alaska type sheep hunting communities, these are $50,000 trips, and people are coming home early, and it's really common. And they're coming home early not because they didn't buy the perfect gear. They're coming home early because they weren't physically or mentally ready. And so in addition to the training, and someone should be training, whether it's a Mountain Tough program or someone else's or something they write themselves or work with a trainer. But you have to think of your body and your mind being your greatest asset on that trip. And a big helpful tool for that is to get in the wilderness a lot of times before that trip. So, someone who lives in Florida, if they have that Colorado tag, they should still be thinking about, like, can I camp this weekend, even in Florida? Like, can I test some of this gear? What's the water going to do to my boots? Is this rain gear really going to hold up? So the most successful outdoorsmen are most successful because they're outdoors all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the things that are making people go home early are those outdoorsman elements. And so training in the gym and never going outside before a hunt of a lifetime isn't the answer either. So, think about camping, fishing, hiking. What can I do to be outside to always be sharpening my outdoorsman skills, in addition to thinking about my body as the greatest kind of weapon I can bring on this trip.
Plus boots.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a killer, dude. Buy all this new stuff and you buy a brand new pair of boots right before your trip and then you just get blistered up. You see that all the time too. It's like, you should be training those boots the whole time.
Oh yeah.
If that's what if you're going to have to climb a mountain in those boots, like, use those 16 weeks to break them in and get them right. Like that's what I did before. I did that Seal Fit Kokoro and then Go Ruck Selection also. And that was the thing, man. I got the pair of boots I was going to wear, got them wet every day and trained in them wet, wore them wet until they're dry. And I didn't have any problems. I saw these other people and I was just like, man, this was really hard. It was really hard. But if my feet looked like that, there's no way I would have made it. Oh, and these guys had the whole bottom of their foot was messed up. These are like elite CrossFit athletes, but they don't ever wear boots. And they got worked. Worked. I don't know how long it would have taken them to do that. But it is something that you should do. And you might look a little funny in your gym, like in a pair of shorts and your boots. But dude, I'm telling you, if you're going to be walking on that treadmill, walk in those boots. And, because that will, I don't care how tough you are. If you have bad feet, you're going down.
Yeah.
Down.
Yeah. My, one of our good buddies, his name is Barrett Sims. He's from Alabama and he is a mountain hunter. He's hunted all over the world and he is a giant human. So he's 6'6". He's got a size 14. He wears size 14 Kenetrek hunting boots every single day in his workout.
There.
So
he's probably had blisters before. And he said, "I'm never again."
It's a good pro tip for sure.
He sounds like this guy I just had on the podcast yesterday, Ryan Krauser, 3-time Olympic gold medalist shot putter, crazy hunter, crazy fisherman, 6'7", 335. He ties size 22 midges. I was like, how? Your hands is like
giant mitts
this big. I don't even like to tie size 22 midges, and I'm a third of this guy's size. But he can do it, and he's a bow hunter. And he said, all I do is bow hunt and fly fish, and he likes all kinds of fishing. But he loves to tie flies, and that's like part of his training. Like he trains 6 hours a day, eats a ton, but he has to have something to clear his mind. He loves to fish and hunt, and he grew up doing that. That's cool guy though. If you ever run into him, he's definitely a really cool guy. So awesome. What do you think that the blue sky for Mountain Tough? Where are you going in the next 5 years, you think?
Yeah, so our mission is to change 100,000 lives, and we define it that way because we definitely are more than a fitness app. It definitely is a lifestyle with the Mountain Tough customers. And we see so much life change because of those pillars, when someone starts sharpening themselves physically, things change. When they start sharpening themselves mentally, things change. And then spiritually and nutritionally, they don't just get in shape, they actually transform their whole entire life. And so the testimonials always have been about that. They are sometimes about the hunt, but the majority of the testimonials are, I was battling alcoholism, I was battling cancer. And now I'm a better father, I'm a better husband, I'm a better friend, I'm a better employee, I'm a better boss. And that's certainly because of the physical shape sometimes, but a lot of times it's that mindset, that mental toughness. Mm-hmm. And so we're pursuing that journey of changing 100,000. We're on track to do that with the subscribers coming through the app. And we'll continue to innovate until we reach that goal. And innovation is pretty normal around here. It's a very adaptable team and adaptable culture where we let kind of the community let us know what they're looking for. And then we make sure it's delivered in the app at a world-class level. And so I think the Daily Suite is a good example of that. And the Daily Suite gave the Mountain Tough community that same feeling of being at that local class right in their basement. Mm-hmm. And that like-minded community is also kind of leading to a lot of those life transformations. These people they're meeting up, they're training together in different cities. They're going on hunts together. They're going on trips together. Once a year now, all Mountain Tough customers are invited to the lab. So the last 2 years, we've had this Tough Fest event where Mountain Toughers around the world fly into Bozeman, and we're all together for a full 24 hours.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
You can just see it at that event that, Mountain Tough being part of their identity is allowing them to kind of achieve some of those goals they've always wanted to achieve in their life. So we're going to continue to do that and see where it goes from there.
Right on. I was going to ask, is there like is there a community place to communicate in the app, or how are these people are all getting together? Like, is there one central place that people communicate?
In our app, there's a lot of community. So they're talking about the workouts underneath every video workout inside of the app. So you'll see a ton of engagement there where, like on today's MGD, people are talking about, how it went, how many rounds they got, stuff like that. And then our Facebook community is super active where people are getting into that deeper stuff around, what are you doing with this? Is anyone in Dallas? Can we meet up for some Mountain Tough training? And so the community is in the app and kind of external from the app.
Nice. Well, doing a great job with it. It's really cool. And changing 100,000 lives. That's pretty awesome, man. And I know it's very rewarding. I've seen it in my own life with people that I've helped, and it's got to be super, super. I mean, like you said it early, it fills your cup. Mm-hmm. I can see why. It's good. And you probably got a great team around you. So good luck to you with all that, man. It's really, really, really cool to get to know you a little bit better. And next time I come out there, I'll drop by.
Yeah, we got to get you into the new lab.
I'll be a tester. Place. You can test.
Yeah,
you can test on me.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not something that you generally want to invite upon yourself, but I'm just kind of like that. I like it. So I know what's coming when I invite myself in there to the lab. I know what's coming, and it's going to be very difficult. But that's what I like. So anyway, yeah. And if you ever want to come to Florida, you should think about. I mean, there are physical capabilities that fishing guides have to have, and it's something that a lot of people don't think about. But to guide the way that I guided, you basically push a boat for 8 to 10 hours with a stick in the wind with somebody on the bow. And it's hard. And a lot of people develop shoulder problems from it. And a lot of people physically aren't capable of doing it. And what I found is the better shape I was in, the more money I could put in my pocket. I mean, it was a 1-to-1 relationship. That it was just like being a professional athlete. If I could go more days in a row, I made more money, and I could support my family, and I could do better in my business and the whole thing. So I that was one of the reasons, one of the real passions is like I started training so that I could, do better in my job. And then I found that it was essential. And then I found that the better I ate, the better I could do. And the more I paid attention to my electrolytes and hydration in Florida heat, obviously the better I could do. But it's not just as simple as like drink a bunch of water. I mean, you got to have the right electrolytes and then getting those from a good source. And then I just kept learning these little things over time. And it's like each one of these things is making me better at my job. And then somewhere along the line, you just like it. Like, I like this whole process. I like these little tweaks that make me better. And I don't know. I think there's probably an audience out there for you with the fishermen too.
Yeah, I love that. It's really accurate. You just kind of, the human performance stuff, the desire to always think about ways you can be better never ends.
No,
that process is pretty fun. And
it is. I mean, when you see one little thing, it's like, oh, if I don't eat that, I sleep better. Okay. And if I sleep better, I do better. Or if my electrolytes are low, I feel this way. If I have more electrolytes, I feel better and I'm doing better. And so eventually it's like, if I'm stronger, I can pull longer, pull the boat further and longer, and that results in catching more fish. So the better shape I'm in, the more fish I'm catching for my clients, and the more fish I catch for my clients, the more of them return for second time, third time. Next week, book me for next year. That's what it was all about. But well, I've always liked Mountain Tough, and it's really cool to have you on and get to know you.
Thanks. Yeah, appreciate it. So
if people want to check it out, where do they go?
Just go to mountaintough.com, click start free trial. Everyone does get a start on a 14-day free trial. So 14 days for free. And then that'll allow you to download it on the device of your choice or multiple devices. So after you start your free trial, then you can download Mountain Tough straight from the iOS, Apple App Store, Android. It's going to stream across all TV platforms too. So you can just download it on Roku, Amazon, Fire Stick. But go to mountaintough.com and start that trial. That'll get you that 14 days for free. And that, just like a Netflix subscription, the subscription unlocks everything. So once you start your trial, you'll see all of our programs, all physical, mental, spiritual, nutritional. It opens all content.
Right on. Well, definitely check it out. If you're interested in that, definitely check it out. And we'll be back next week with another awesome guest just like Dustin. And go check out Mountain Tough if you're looking for something different, or you're looking for something to get prepared for your next hunting season or even fishing season, like we said. All right. We'll see you next week. Later.